So it comes to that time of the year where I actually want to talk about the lenses I've used this year in my workflow, and especially the ones that I've reviewed and still continuously used, which obviously is really important that, works in with my workflow. Obviously some lenses are amazing, but I don't use them as often because it doesn't suit my workflow or doesn't suit the style of work that I actually do. But I've got a list of 10 lenses that we're going to be talking about and a couple of honorable mentions that we will talk about in this video. What's going on, my 103,000 amazing friends? I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. If you are new on my channel, please consider subscribing. That would be absolutely amazing. So we're going to get straight into it. Number 10, we're actually going to be talking about the Sirui Nightwalker lenses. Now, these are fabulous Super 35 lenses, and they are super fast at an f1.2 aperture. They are very similar build. They're built very well. But there are some inconsistencies when it comes to the image quality and performance in between the different focal lengths, which I actually did a video of these comparing them to the Visions Cine lenses by 7 Artisans, and you can go to check that one out if you want. But when it comes to the price and the value you actually get out of these Super 35 lenses, I think they're absolutely phenomenal, and the image quality is just nice. It has decent characteristics, and I think you're getting a great set of lenses here. Definitely recommended, and comment number 10. Now the next one I rave about quite a lot, and I really wish they did an upgrade on this, and that is the 24-105 f4 Sony lens. Now this lens is amazing for a few different reasons. Now if you do have the FX6, you absolutely realize that you don't have any IBIS, and there aren't really many Sony lenses with OSS because a lot of the alpha bodies have IBIS, and you don't necessarily need that because the IBIS definitely is good enough. But this one has OSS, so it is great for my FX6, and just that really nice focal range for freelance gigs that you just need run and gun stuff and get decent image quality. Now, it's not perfectly sharp from center to edge, like especially when it comes to that 24mm. When you go out to the edge, it's very soft. It's pretty average. That 105, it's pretty sharp, and anything in between, I mean, it's not bad. It's an okay performing lens. I do wish they had the XD linear focusing motors, so it actually makes it smaller, lighter, more compact, and then obviously perform slightly better when it comes to image quality, which you would imagine that they will update this eventually in the future. But the 24-105 is just like one of those lenses that you can just put on any camera and it perform pretty decent and get great results. Now number 8 comes to this fairly new lens, and that is the 16-35 f4 PZ lens. Now this is the second version of this style. It is very small and light and has pretty much all the new features that you have in all the new Sony lenses. Now this is a G version and it has power zoom, so it pairs well with the FX30, pairs well with the FX6, ZV-E1, anything that actually has a power zoom rocker. This works really well, and the great thing is if you do use the zoom, you're not actually going to be extending the barrel, so you can run this on a gimbal really well. But the one camera that I actually pair this a lot with is actually the ZV-E1, so it's great for vlogging, it's great for travel content, and BTS stuff as well. So the 16-35 f4 PZ definitely comes in at that number 8, and I think is a really great lens to consider as opposed to that 16-35 GM lens. Like this price is so much less, like $1,000 or something less than the GM lens. And do you really need an f2.8 when it comes to 16-35? Not really. Check out the full review of this video. You might be surprised what you can actually get out of this lens. Now coming in at number 7, I rave about these lenses all the time, and these are the Sirui anamorphic lenses. These are the 1.6 times anamorphic squeeze for full frame cameras. I've got the full set of these, and any chance I get, I use these on my client gigs, creative projects, depending on what kind of projects, but I love filming with anamorphic lenses. The character, the quality, the bokeh that you get, obviously the flares, the aspect ratio, everything about anamorphics I absolutely love. Obviously with, clean corporate client work, you wouldn't necessarily use anamorphics unless that is your 110% style and you've been approved to actually utilize these kind of lenses. But just the ability to have, nice aspect ratio and just that character that you actually get with anamorphic lenses, I just absolutely love. And 1.6 certainly is enough squeeze for me. I am not a big fan of 2x squeeze unless you're able to film open gate, which pretty much every Sony camera can't film open gate unless it's the Venice cameras. I think even the Burano at the time of making this video doesn't even have open gate. So if you don't know what open gate, it allows you to film in that 3:2 aspect ratio. So if you actually, utilize the 2 time squeeze anamorphic lenses, you can get some nice looking footage. But if you're using it on 16:9 or 17:9 sensors, you're going to get footage like that's this long and this thin. It's not going to be great, and you're going to be chopping off so much real estate when it comes to, the sides of your footage. And having 1.6 is a little bit too much on the sides, but still you get some nice anamorphic qualities. And I mean, I've done a ton of YouTube videos on these Sirui lenses, and I highly recommend them. I love them. I love the look at the flares. A lot of people don't like the flares because, sometimes they're a little bit too hectic. Personally, I'm a fan. I love them in my fitness videos. Now, the next one I actually use quite a lot, and especially recently with my IG content, I've been doing some POV shots, and that is this lens right here. This is the Viltrox 16mm lens and an f1.8. Now, that's probably the biggest reason that I love this, is that it is a wide lens and it's a fast f1.8. So I don't actually have to, crank up my ISO levels when I'm in the studio, because I've got a standard 200 watt light there and it really isn't that powerful. So I need a fast aperture lens, but this gives me a really nice sort of wide focal length plus some nice depth of field when I'm actually doing some POV shots. But you can actually use this for real estate work, architecture, landscape, all those kind of things as well. But for me, I use this, quite a lot, and I love it. And especially what you pay for this at full frame 16mm f1.8, you're getting great value out of this lens. Now, the next one, I haven't actually done a full review yet. I'm still gathering my opinions, but I mean, they're incredible. The build quality is amazing. The image quality is amazing. I've just got to get down to making that video, which I've been doing a lot of client work lately, so haven't really had as much time as I had recently. But this is the Laowa 65mm T2.4 anamorphic lens. It's a 1.5 squeeze and it's suited for Super 35 sensors. So I've got it here on my Red Komodo X, but I've also been using it with the FX30, been using it with the FX6, even though it's for Super 35, you can crop in or you can use clear image zoom on full frame Sony cameras. But these are small, light, and they perform extremely well. They are very sharp, wide open. Well, very sharp, wide open, they still give you some nice anamorphic characteristics when it comes to the softness, and the bokeh is absolutely beautiful on these. And now, as opposed to that 65mm T2.4, I've also got the 27mm T2.8. So it's just a little bit wider. It gives me that, telephoto tight focal length, and it gives me that wide focal length. So these two actually work in complementary with each other, and I absolutely love it, especially that 1.5 times anamorphic squeeze. It works phenomenally well on the Komodo X. Amazing. But you can obviously use this really well with the FX30 as well. Now we're coming in at number 4, and this one is a heifer, but an absolutely beautiful lens. This is my favorite anamorphic lens. This is the Viltrox Epic anamorphic lens. It's only a 1.33 times squeeze, but the images you get out of this is just, it's so beautiful. I love using this. It is a full frame lens as well, but I mean, it is so big. It's so heavy, but I've been using it on the KX. I've been using it on the FX6 as well, both of those two cameras. And a lot of my fitness stuff, I pretty much go for this one. I've only got one, so the 50mm. They're just so expensive. They are very expensive for the kit, and 50mm is enough for me. If I do need wider, I just walk further back. I mean, that's pretty much it. But this lens just renders such beautiful image quality. Like, it is nice and just enough sharpness. I've been using this so much, and I cannot speak highly enough about this. And obviously the great thing is that I did choose the PL mount. So if you do have a PL adapter, you can pretty much adapt it to any camera, which gives it so much more versatility than just locking you into the Sony E mount. I do absolutely recommend, if you get cinema lenses, definitely go for PL mount, because it increases the value of the lens when it comes to resale, but it also increases the versatility when you actually need to hire different cameras. You can put this on that camera if you have a PL adapter. So I just want to jump in here and say, comment below, let me know your thoughts on what lenses you actually have used quite a lot and what you absolutely love and you think should be in this list. So let's get back to it. Now, no surprises here, but the next 3 lenses are Sony lenses, and I own 2 of them and 1 of them I don't own. I really want, but I just don't see enough use cases for me to actually purchase it, but it does hit up there. But the next one at number 3 is the 24mm f1.4. Now this lens is incredible. It's a G Master lens, so it's got extremely nice, image quality, super fast autofocus systems. It's got the aperture ring, the custom button manual focus. It's brilliant. I love it. It works well, obviously, with Sony cameras because you do have breathing compensation, because some of these have slightly bad breathing, but with the breathing compensation, it works really well. But the 24mm I've been using with pretty much every single YouTube video when it comes to this talking head. Just for this video, I'm using the 35mm f1.4, just obviously so I can have this in my hand and then film the top-down shots of the B-roll of this, but I've been using this for everything, and I know a lot of people use this 24mm for, B-roll shots, architecture, landscapes. Sometimes I've heard people use them for vlogging. 24mm is probably a little bit too tight when it comes to vlogging, especially if you have the ZV-E1 and the dynamic active stability. It's going to be way too tight with that crop, but this lens is phenomenal, and I always take this with me everywhere, especially with any kind of talking head. In my opinion, I feel it's just that right focal length where you can get enough of the background, but also still have decent separation from you in the background because it's an f1.4. I don't know, 24mm just works really well with me. Now the next one, like I said, is number 2. I don't physically own it, but it's the 70-200 GM f2.8 Mark II. Now this is the brand new one where it's smaller, lighter, it's faster, it's much better image quality. It's pretty much like one of the most perfect lenses, and 70-200, like the range is phenomenal. I love filming at 200mm because obviously that compression, the bokeh looks beautiful. Just the images that you can actually render from the 70-200 is amazing. But when it comes to 70-200, I don't really do much sports, and I don't really do much wildlife. But if I am doing sports or wildlife, I've got the 200-600, so that gives me so much more range. That 70-200 just, it isn't the range that I personally use, but I just love that lens. And probably one of the reasons why I can't justify buying it is because I just wouldn't use it. It would literally sit in my lens cabinets because, I can choose something tighter, or I could choose something wider, and the 70-200 focal length just isn't for me right now. Now, drum roll for number 1, and you guys might have guessed it, and this lens is on my FX6 right now because I use it so much with my FX6. I use it a ton with literally the ZV-E1, the FX30, the A7 IV, all my Sony cameras, I use this lens. It's phenomenal. It's the 50mm f1.2 G Master. This lens, the images on here is just phenomenal. Even if you're not filming at f1.2, like it is so sharp at f1.2, but if you stop it down to f1.8, f2, your images look incredible. Like if you do a lot of corporate stuff, a lot of weddings, a lot of portraiture, this 50mm f1.2 is insanely good. I mean, they did release the f1.4, which is I think like $1,000 less. It's slightly smaller as well, and it performs almost exactly the same. Obviously it can't go to f1.2, it's only f1.4, but I don't know, there's just something about this f1.2 lens I absolutely love. And for me, the weight doesn't matter. I don't care. You can give me that big Viltrox lens if, I still be able to hold it. It's fine. For me, I don't care about the weight. It just renders such an incredible looking image, and I've been using it on so many jobs, specifically the ones that I need fast autofocus, and I'm not actually using anamorphic manual focus lenses. But man, this definitely gets the number 1 spot for me. So now the first honorable mention that I would like to give a shout out to is the Viltrox 75mm f1.2. Now this is an APS-C lens, but the image quality on this thing is phenomenal. I love this lens. The thing is with this lens, it is very similar to the 50mm f1.2 G Master, and even though this is for APS-C, The 50mm G Master, you can still use it on APS-C cameras. Obviously the 50mm will become a 75mm, and the 75mm will become a, I don't know what's 1.5 times 75 equals that, but it's a longer focal length, and it really just depends on the shoot. But if I didn't have the 50mm f1.2, I would probably use this so much more, especially with the FX30. I just think it's extremely well built. The image quality is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to a Super 35 sensor or an APS-C sensor. So, you know, portraiture shots is incredible with this. The background just turns out super buttery. The image quality is just phenomenal with this lens. It is pretty much on par with the G Master lens. Now, the second honorable mention is the lens that I'm using right now. This is the 35 f1.4 G Master. Now, that was probably one of my favorite lenses of all time until I bought the 50mm f1.2, and then because I've got the 50mm 1.2, I've got the 24. The 35 is just that in between that I don't usually choose too often, because I either go slightly wider with the 24 or I go slightly longer with that 50, and the 35 is just like that, that kind of awkward length now because I've got other options. But there are still some cases where I do choose the 35, especially when it comes to some of my corporate gigs, and I can't go back because I'm in a tight room. The 35 is just that perfect length. Like the 24 is just a little bit too wide for portraits. It kind of distorts the face when you go a little bit too close. The 35 is just, just right. So there are some certain circumstances where I still use the 35, but just not as much now because of it, the 24 and that 50. Now, the last one I did mention at number 10 when it comes to the Sirui Nightwalkers, and that's the competitor, which is the Visions Cine lens by 7 Artisans. Now, these are phenomenal lenses. They come in at a T1.05. Like, that is insanely wide. The only issue is with the T1.05, it's extremely difficult to get in focus. Plus, they are very, very soft. These lenses have some incredible character. They aren't incredibly sharp. They ghost quite a lot and flare quite a lot, but there's just something about this lens that it's very vintage-like, and it just gives you incredible image quality if you do want a little bit of character. Like, if you are doing something creative, these lenses are phenomenal, especially when it comes to Super 35 sensors. So that is my 10 lenses of 2023 that I've been using and absolutely loving. I'll obviously do this again next year. So if you do like these kind of videos, please give it a thumbs up and comment below what are your thoughts and what lenses you actually like in 2023 that you've been using quite a lot. Let me know down below, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, let's get it.